In the video today, we are answering a viewer question because F. Morse asks us, what's the difference between a horse and a pony? We're answering the really important questions here on Today I Found Out. Ponies and horses are both equines. In general, a horse is an equine that stands about 14.2 hands high or more, and a pony is an equine that stands under that mark, give or take depending on region. For instance, in Australia, the dividing line is 14 hands rather than 14.2. That being said, although the main distinction between the two is size is not the only determining factor. There are some horses smaller than a typical pony size that are not ponies, but rather are horses. For instance, breeds such as the Falabella horse, which stands no taller than 7.5 hands, are considered to be very small horses and not ponies. Further, Caspian horses almost always are under 12 hands, yet they aren't considered ponies. Why? Well, in one word, the answer is phenotypes. In more words, because that's not very interesting though, the answer lies in their temperament and physical makeup. Ponies are typically much stockier than their horse relatives. They also have thicker manes, tails, and coats, so are better able to endure the cold weather. They have proportionally shorter legs, wider barrels, that's the body of the pony that encloses the rib cage and all major internal organs, heavier bones, shorter and thicker necks, and short heads with broader foreheads. They also typically have calmer temperaments and a high level of equine intelligence, which can be used to a human handler's advantage. There is a reason that pony rides are a thing for kids. And that's it for this question. Horses and ponies are both equines. Size typically determines whether or not they are considered a horse or a pony, but their temperaments and other aspects of their physical makeup also do count. Moving on to the difference between a donkey and a mule, put simply, a donkey is the descendant of the African wild ass, of which there are only about 500 left in the wild today. Donkeys are a different species than a horse, but they're in the same family. They were originally bred in Egypt or Mesopotamia around 5,000 years ago. Mules, on the other hand, are a cross between a female horse and a male donkey, or jack, hence the word jackass. In contrast, a male horse and a female donkey bred together produce a hinny, the name coming from the fact that a female donkey is called a jenny and it's bred with a horse with an H. The offspring of this breeding is very similar to a mule, as you might expect, though generally slightly smaller, which is thought to be because of the smaller womb in a donkey over a horse. So, the main difference between a donkey, mule, and a horse is genetics. Horses have 64 chromosomes, donkeys have 62, leaving the mule and hinny with 63. This mismatch in pairs leaves the mule and hinny almost always sterile, though there have been about 60 recorded instances of a female mule able to conceive with a horse or donkey. Beyond the genetic differences, you can easily tell the difference between a donkey and a mule or hinny by a few different physical markers. The easiest thing to spot is that mules and hinnies are usually larger than donkeys, often significantly so, much more closely resembling a horse in size. In fact, it's not that uncommon for a mule to be taller than both its donkey father and its horse mother. Another easy difference to spot is that in the summer a mule's coat tends to more closely resemble a horse's rather than the longer coarse hairs of a donkey. However, in winter mules tend to develop coats that more closely resemble a donkey. Less noticeable at a glance is that donkeys lack the fifth lumbar vertebrae in their spine, which horses and most mules possess. Besides physical and genetic differences between a mule and a donkey, you can also tell the difference just by hearing them make noises. Donkeys make very distinctive hee-haw type sounds. Mules make a sound that is something of a cross between a horse's whinny and the donkey's hee-haw, often starting as a whinny and then melding into a hee-haw. And now for some bonus facts. If you ever wondered why anyone in an agricultural setting would want an animal like the mule that can't reproduce, it's simply because, in a lot of ways, a mule is superior to both a donkey and a horse, taking many of the best traits of each. For instance, mules are significantly more maintenance-free than horses, particularly having less leg and hoof problems, but also less medical problems overall. If they primarily work on softer grounds, not concrete or exceptionally stony grounds, they don't even need to be shod. Mules also have tougher and less sensitive skin than horses. They also live longer than horses, as high as 50 years compared to the horse's 30-ish years. They also have a greater number of years where they can be productive, averaging about 18 years to a horse's 15 years of productivity on a farm-like setting. Further, mules can be used for as many as 30 to 40 years for riding, long after the horse would be dead. Mules also require much less in the way of high-quality food, no grain needed. They are typically fine with the more nutritionally deficient fare that donkeys are accustomed to. They need less food, pound for pound, than horses, with a much more efficient digestive tract, needing only around 1.5% of their body weight per day, compared to a horse's 2.5%, although this varies somewhat depending on how much work they're being given. But the same basic ratio does hold if they're given equal work. Pound for pound, mules are also stronger than horses, and with better stamina and agility. They also are superior to donkeys, in that they are typically much larger than donkeys, so the overall weight they can carry is greater. Mules make great guard animals for protecting livestock, similar to donkeys, but they're not quite as aggressive. Horses, on the other hand, tend to lean towards bolting when they sense danger, and only fighting when they have to. The downside of this for mules is that they must be trained not to attack pet dogs. Normally, if they see a dog or a wolf or coyote, they'll attack, and often quite effectively. Mules, like donkeys, also have a very strong self-preservation sense, which makes them naturally a better companion in a fight with wild animals, and also better in the sense that they won't let you work them to the point of death, like can happen with horses if you aren't careful or don't know what you're doing. Mules don't spook as easily as horses do, making them better to ride in certain circumstances, such as in settings like trails down the Grand Canyon or in a storm. Finally, mules endure heat and lack of water much better than horses, gaining this trait from their donkey father, who is built more for desert life. And now for another bonus fact. Zebras and donkeys can breed together, creating a zonkey. Generally, such breeding takes place between female donkeys and male zebras, as domestic female zebras' breeding schedules tend to be booked for creating purebred zebras, unlike female donkeys, who are much more numerous. And now for another bonus fact. Donkeys weren't called donkeys until around the late 18th century. Before then, they were called asses. Nobody knows exactly where the word donkey derives from, but the leading hypothesis is that it comes from dun, meaning dull grey-brown, mixed with monkey. It's thought that the common switch from ass to donkey came from the trend towards avoiding derogatory terms, as ass had become at that point, particularly in America. This is similar to the switches around the same time from cock to rooster and coney to cunny to cunt to rabbit. On that note, arse, meaning butt, gave rise to ass, meaning butt, instead of just donkey or idiot, around the 17th century, when changes in pronunciation resulted in the two words being pronounced the same, similar with what happens from burst to bust, curse to cuss, and bass to bass. Ass comes from the Latin asinus, meaning donkey, which in turn probably comes from a pre-Latin Middle Eastern language. Figuratively, asinus could also mean idiot, basically like a donkey. So the convention of using ass to mean donkey or moron has been around since, well, the beginning of the word. And now for another bonus fact. Going back to horse terms, a foal is a horse of either sex less than 1 year old. Foals who are nursing are called sucklings, and those who have been weaned are called weanlings. A yearling is a horse of either sex that is between 1 and 2 years old. A colt is a male horse under 4, and a filly is a female horse under the age of 4. A stallion is a non-castrated male who is 4 years or older. A gelding is a castrated male of any age. A mare is a female horse 4 years or older. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Do not forget to subscribe. Brand new videos just like this every day of the week. For more from me, why not check out another channel I do called Highlight History? I'll be linking to that below. And thank you for watching.